Hi, guys. Welcome back to Elephants in the Room. My name is Nicole. I'm your host. If you're new here, I talk about all of the elephants in the room, the things that are hard to talk about, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes they feel embarrassing, sometimes they're just hard to even communicate or understand. And so I try to walk through real struggles that I've been through and that I go through in this life and try to make sense of them and also just walk in community with you guys, because I feel like if I've learned anything in this life, it's that we all go through such similar emotions and struggles in this life. And I think shedding light on them only brings us closer together and only brings freedom and peace. So, if you're not new here and you know me, hello, welcome back. I hope you guys had a good 2 weeks. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. Well, not last week, the week before, because we release bi-weekly episodes. I'm excited to get in today's episode, and it is something that I have been thinking about and that has been on my mind. And honestly, something that I feel like I'm kind of, in a way, I'm not embarrassed to talk about it or admit it, but I think like in a way it can feel pointless to talk about or shallow or like, I don't know, like it feels like maybe I won't fully be understood on this, but I think these are real thoughts that we go through. And so that's why, again, I'm just going to talk about it and hope that you guys understand and relate. This episode is going to be geared more towards people in, their mid-20s, but also I think that this naturally, will apply to really any age you're at, because I think in each stage of life we can feel like this. So no matter what age you are, hopefully you can relate, but this is obviously coming from a mid to late 20s perspective. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So this episode is titled, I'm Not 18 Anymore, and That's Okay. Making Peace with Time, Aging, and the Pressure to Have It All. Okay, guys, so I've obviously talked about this in the past a little bit, like especially when I hit 25. I think that was a huge thing for me, and hitting 26 as well was huge for me. And in about 2 months, I'm going to be 27. And this has just felt really, really real and intense for me the last couple months as I've been leading up to turning 27. And I think I've really started to develop kind of this fear of aging and this pressure to preserve the way I look, to get ahead, to make sure that I'm doing all the right things, to be what I want to be. Like, it just feels like every year I get older, I feel more of a pressure and expectation to get my stuff together, to get my life together, to be everything I want to be, to do everything I want to do. And then also, like, honestly, again, I think I have started to fear aging and fear getting wrinkles and looking old and feeling old and my body not performing the same way that it performs now, and fear of getting health issues and not being as active as I am or not having the energy that I have. Like, I've just started really kind of being like, oh my gosh, like my youth is passing me and this is scary. And I kind of feel like I had, in a way, a negative like idea of it and of aging. And that's not the way I want to live. That's not at my core what I believe in, but I think I've been feeling that way. And again, for anyone who's watching this who is older, you're probably looking at me like, can you just shut up? Like, you're still so young. You still have so much time. And to that, I say, you're probably 100% right. You're actually totally right. I'm still so young. I am, and I know that. But I think there is something that happens in you when you start to lean into kind of the actual beginning of adulthood, which I feel like is like your 30s, I guess you could say. And so I'm really feeling that shift within me, and it's scary. And again, I So that's why, again, with all these types of things, like sometimes I fear talking about them because I never want to be misunderstood. I never want people to get the wrong idea or think I'm like complaining about being 26, because that's so young and really in the perspective of life and how long life is. But these are real things that I feel and that I fear, and I want to be honest about them because I think other people probably feel similar. And I want to try to together maybe encourage us to start to change our perspective and walk through these things and talk about them so we can kind of like lessen the load of how heavy they can feel. So again, this episode is for anyone and everyone, but if you feel like this is not something you want to listen to, that's totally fine. But this is just me being honest with where I'm at and what I'm going through. And I hope you understand, and I hope that you get something out of it for you. So back to what I was saying about, just the fear of aging and making peace with time, all those things. I think that as you start to get into your actual adult years, because I feel like 18 to like 26, you're like still a baby. Like you're pretty much a child. Like I don't feel like you're really an adult yet. Your brain hasn't even fully developed till you're 26. And so I feel like once you turn 26 and you start getting into your mid to late 20s is when you start to feel this shift. And I feel like you just become more aware of time, expectations, how you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to live, how you're supposed to feel, how much success you're supposed to have. And I think I just want to release that pressure and talk about it because it's real. And there's just a fear of aging, running out of time, and not looking or being like your 18-year-old self anymore. And I really want to start to learn to see my life and every single year as a blessing, because there's no negativity in any year of your life, and each one is special for different reasons. And so I just want to stop feeling so fearful of getting older, and I want to start enjoying and appreciating every single year for what it is and what happens in my life and how I develop and how my character develops and how my thoughts develop. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. And like I said, I think there is a really big shift from, 26 and on, because I think like really any time before 26, when people would be like, oh, like you're so young, you have so much time. I was like, yeah, I do. I'm so young. I have so much time. And now when people say that internally, I'm like, I don't feel like I have any time. I don't feel like I feel like for some reason I have this really, really weird idea in my mind that like the prime of your life and the goodness in life only happens when you're 20 to 30. Like then your life's over for some reason in my mind. Like not actually, but it kind of feels like at that point you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't change, you can't. Like, it feels like you have to have it all together by 30. Like, just have your life together, And if I've learned anything in my 26 years of life is that I just don't really think that's real. And I think that we continue to grow and evolve and change. And I also think that there is something tied to social media and how society views aging that has kind of put this idea that aging is bad in my head, or not that it's bad, but that it's like scary and I should fear it. So I think we're just taught to fear time when it's really what helps us grow, heal, and become who we're meant to be. And so I think when I talk about social media, obviously I'll speak more for women because I'm a woman, so I've experienced that more, but obviously for men as well in their own way. I think that we've been conditioned to think that youth equals worth. That's terrible. And that's terrible. Like we have been conditioned to believe that youth equals worth. And so as we get older, we constantly feel this pressure as women that we are not as good or not as valuable as the girls younger than us. You've always heard the saying like, oh, they're just going to find someone younger and leave you for someone younger when you get old and when you get wrinkly and when your body changes. And that's terrible. That's a terrible thing to think and a terrible way to view life, because age is inevitable. We all get older, and our worth is not tied to how young we are and what we look like. And I think that that's a really toxic thing that I feel like social media has pushed onto us and just society in general. And I feel like I've noticed that it kind of internalized inside of me, and I didn't really realize it until I've started kind of not panicking, but a little bit panicking about turning 27. I'm like, oh my goodness, like my youth is running out, like maybe my worth is going down. And even though logically I know that's not true at my core, and I know what I believe in, and I know where my value comes from, it's almost like this little voice in my head that wants to pick at me, that wants to tear me down. And I do feel like it's internalized from years and years of kind of conditioning by social media and by the world to make us believe that, especially for women, our worth is tied to our youth. And so this is called internalized ageism, when society's obsession with youth becomes the way we see ourselves. And I think also just with, social media now and technology and all the things and all the ways we try to stay young, because I do think the world is kind of obsessed with this forever youth. Like we all want to stay young. We want to look young. We want to be young forever. And, you think about all the cosmetic procedures and Botox and filler and all these things that help us retain this very youthful look. And it's not that I'm against any of those things or that it's wrong to pursue looking healthy and taking care of your skin and taking care of your body. I'm not against any of those things, but it is crazy how much we've kind of decided we don't want to get old. We don't ever want to look old. So let's do all these things that make us look young forever. And again, it's not that it's wrong or that it's bad, but it's more about what it does to us internally and how we view getting older and looking older. And so, yeah, I think it's damaging to tell ourselves we're getting old or running out of time, because when we look at it from that perspective, it does cause kind of a frantic stress and worry. And it really pulls us back from actually being present in the moment. And like I said, I think there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself and wanting to stay young and look young. Of course, I think we all want that. We want to look youthful forever. But also it's where is that rooted from? We have to really look at that and think about that, because when we think about way back in the day when we were first created as humans, there wasn't any of these things to help us look young forever. Naturally, people just naturally aged. That was just the reality of it. And also there wasn't as many expectations on career and this and that. It just feels like there's such a timeline from society, and also a look from society that we should be and feel and do by certain ages. And so it's we're constantly comparing ourselves to society's standard of what we should be at a certain age. And as you get older, the stress around it really increases because you feel like you're running out of time. And so, like I said, I think I've caught myself and started to notice myself saying negative things about getting older. When people ask me oh, how old are you? And I'm oh, I'm 26. I'm about to be 27. Oh gosh, I'm scared. I'm getting old. It's what? I'm 26. I'm young. Not only that, why is it bad to get 1 year older? What am I so scared of? It's also when you're constantly speaking those words out loud or speaking those words to yourself, I'm getting old, I'm running out of time, I'm losing, my value, I am not enough, I'm going to start looking older, I'm not, all these things, that is constantly creating this negative view on getting older, therefore making you sad, therefore making you stressed, therefore making you anxious. And it's also pulling you out of the present to be able to just live in whatever year or age you're in. And yeah, I've talked about this before, but there is such a timeline trap, I think. There's this invisible pressure to have it all figured out as you get older. And there's this pressure to be married, to have kids, to have success in your career, to know what you want to do with your career, to have it all together. And I think there is, this social clock theory, and it's the belief that life has a set timeline for major milestones. And pressure creates anxiety even when you're doing fine. And I think it's just crazy that at 26, I already feel like I'm behind. And I'm 26. Like, how is that normal? And how is that okay? But again, I think it's very much internalized from wherever it stems from for me. And I'm trying to break that because, like, I don't ever want to live the years of my life being scared and not enjoying each and every moment and not being present in each and every moment and feeling like one more year on the clock makes me any less or should make me scared. Not that I don't think it's normal to be scared. I think it's normal because I think when we realize we're getting old, it's just, or we see that we're getting older, there's a lot that comes to it. And that's honest and that's real. And, that thought of I'm getting old, I'm behind, it makes our brain live in this scarcity mode. And it makes us believe that we're running out of time. We're running out of something. We only have so much time to look the way we do. We only have so much time to figure out our lives. We only have so much time to figure out our career. We only have so much time to get married. We only have so much time to be valuable. We only have so much time to have kids. And when that happens, you are so stressed, and oftentimes it takes you out of the present moment. And it just shrinks your joy. And it's like, how are you supposed to get to any of those places if you're constantly feeling like you're behind and you're not getting there and you're anxious about not getting there? It's like, how can you even be present and actually get to those places and get those things in the right timing? And also, I think to that, it's just like all of our lives are so unique, so different. And so it's like everyone's timeline is gonna look different. And I know I've talked about this before, but like I grew up LDS, Mormon. And so I had a pretty strict timeline for my life and what I thought my life was going to be. And in my head, I thought I would get married by like 19, 21, and I would start having kids by 23. And I was going to get all my kids out by 26, 27. And here I am. And I'm 26. I'm divorced. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. And I'm like, oh, okay. So those timelines that I set for myself, I didn't reach. And there's nothing wrong with planning or looking ahead to the future or knowing you want things by a certain age. But I do think you have to remember that your life is so unique. And when you rush into things and you do things just because you're trying to meet a certain timeline, they usually don't work out the way that you want. And also, there's so much brain development that's happening for you up until you are 26 that you really don't even know who you are. Not to say that you can't get married or have kids, but it's just like you are going to constantly be shifting and changing. And so don't expect yourself to just have it figured out. Yeah, it's just hard. I think I definitely have found myself comparing myself to what I looked like at 18, what I felt like at 18, and how much time I had left to figure it out. And yeah, it's, I have to remember I'm not 18 anymore. I'm not going to look the same. I'm not going to act the same. I'm different, and that's okay. And I think we can try so hard to or feel bad about ourselves when we compare ourselves to different versions of ourselves. But it's like, as much as, I can sit there and compare myself to my 18-year-old self and be jealous of her or envious, I can also compare my 18-year-old self to my 26-year-old self and see there are also ways I envy her and admire her and different things that I am now that I wasn't back then. So it's like, that's why I think we just have to remember that aging is beautiful and it's a blessing. And with aging comes so much goodness. And so I think, with this pressure to feel young forever and chase this constant youth, I think, it's important to remember there's nothing wrong with wanting to take care of your body, wanting to, do skincare, exercise, be healthy, do things that, help your skin stay healthy or your body stay healthy and stay feeling good, right? All the things. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you're doing it out of a place of fear, that's when it becomes a problem. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with doing the things, but if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this because I'm so scared that I'm going to look old and be old, and I'm so scared that I'm going to be behind, so I have to just force myself into a career. I have to just force myself into a relationship. I have to just force myself into a marriage. I have to just, do Botox or do this because I'm so scared of having wrinkles. It's like, there's nothing wrong with doing those things, but when we're doing them from such a place of fear, it's like, that's not good. It's not the way to do it. And this is important because doing things out of self-compassion will last so much longer and be way more sustainable than when you're doing things out of self-hatred and doing things out of self-criticism. So there is a difference. There is a difference in taking care of yourself and doing all the things to have a good life, to be healthy, to set yourself up for success in the future, to look good, to feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we're doing it from a place of self-criticism and self-hatred and fear and stress and anxiety rather than compassion, that's when I feel like it not only is miserable doing it, but it just never lasts and it's not enjoyable. So I think there's a difference. And I also think when we do things out of a place of self-compassion, we usually always consider our morals, our standards, our values, who we are. But I think when we start to get into that place of self-hatred and self-criticism, we start to kind of forego those things and kind of just maybe do things we wouldn't normally do or that we wouldn't normally stand for, but we're just doing them because we're scared or because we don't feel like we're enough. And so I think there is a really big difference. And so I think it's important to kind of identify the difference between those things and why we do the things that we do. And yeah, just with that, it's like there's a difference between preserving yourself and punishing yourself, between trying to stay young and trying to stay well. So it's like, I think there is this obsession with constant youth, especially living in LA for a little bit. Like, everyone there just wants to be young forever, like forever. You meet people who are in their 40s, 50s, and they are like not doing things that they should because they are in this mindset of being young forever. And the unfortunate truth is that, when we're constantly chasing material things and constantly chasing our appearance and looking good and, all of the things, it's like they feel good in the moment, but they don't actually mean anything and they're fleeting. Like, looks are fleeting. The way we look is fleeting. It doesn't actually matter. And if you feel like you're only of value when you look good, and if you feel like you have to look perfect and be perfect to have love or acceptance or whatever, it's like, that's fleeting. It's inevitable. We will all get older. We will all look different. We will not look the way we did when we were young. And that's why it's so important to be with someone who loves you for you, someone who loves your character, and also to value people in that way. Like, your character and your morals and your standards and the way you treat people is so much more interesting than the way you look. It's so much more valuable than the way you look. And society has tried to convince us otherwise, but we can put so much time and energy into our outward appearance and ignore our inward appearance, and we will never be who we want to be. And people will always see through you. They'll see through your exterior and see your interior. And it's not life-giving to yourself or others to focus so much on that you ignore what's underneath, because that's what actually matters. That's what's actually going to make someone stay with you till you're 100 years old. That's what's going to raise your kids. That's what's going to push you into what you want to do with your life. That, like, how you treat people, your hobbies, what you love to do, like your talents, like that's what makes you valuable and interesting, not the way that you look, and there's nothing wrong with stewarding your body well and taking care of yourself and, wearing cute clothes and putting on makeup and whatever. Like, there's nothing wrong with those things, but when they become more important to us than who we actually are at our core, I feel like that's when it becomes an issue. And that's when I think we do, just start to see a negative side to that, because wherever we put our value is where we will also put our energy. And so it's like putting your energy into the right place, I think, is important. And, I think on that note, I think it's just important to remember, especially as women, and I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends, but as women, our bodies are supposed to change. I think we definitely feel a pressure to stay the same, even though our bodies are designed to evolve. And some of the biology behind that is like, as women age, hormones shift, bodies prepare for different life stages, including fertility and motherhood. Our metabolism, skin, and shape change naturally. It's not failure, it's function. And I think it is important to normalize body changes, hips widening, metabolism slowing down, skin maturing, as natural, healthy adaptations. And that's normal. It's beautiful. And I think, again, I've had this conversation with a couple of my friends, but it's so easy for me, and a little bit of a trigger warning, because I'm going to be talking a little bit about, women's bodies and weight and stuff and some of my struggles with that. So if that's something you struggle with, maybe just skip past this part in the episode. But I think when I was 18, I weighed a lot less than I weigh right now. And I have naturally put on weight as I've gotten older. And I think that for a little while in my mind, I was aware of how much I weighed back then and what I looked like back then. And I thought, well, I'll just get back to that place. I know I can get back to that place. And what I've noticed is, even as I've exercised and eaten well and done all the things, I've noticed that my body just sits more comfortably at the weight that I'm at. I have more energy. I feel better. Like, I am different. My needs are different now. And I think when I was 18, my priority of looking good and feeling good and being fit and doing all these things was so important. And I neglected a lot of other things to be that way. And, drinking caffeine on an empty stomach, not eating for the first part of the day, whatever, like all the things we do, all the things we struggle with as women. And if you struggled with your weight, I just want you to know you're so loved, you're so valuable. Your weight is not what defines you. And struggling with body dysmorphia or just any of those struggles, they're so hard. And when I grew up, I actually was very bullied for being overweight. And so I've always kind of struggled with body dysmorphia and my relationship with food and different things. And so I've worked really hard to get to a healthy place with all of that. But with that being said, me getting to a healthy place has naturally made me not be as stressed. And naturally, I've put on weight in a healthy way. And I think that I've really had to be kind to myself and remember that my body knows what it needs. And pushing yourself so far past the point of comfortability to look a certain way, like, that's not the way I want to live. I want to be healthy. I want to eat well, take care of my body, exercise, move my body. But beyond that, I am not going to obsess over looking a certain way. And also, my body's not really naturally meant to look that way if this is where it sits. Like, I think as women, as we get older, our bodies sit at a more comfortable weight for us because our bodies are preparing to have kids, all these different things. And so I just want you to know, like, it's easy to compare ourselves to what we used to look like, but like maybe we're not supposed to look like that anymore. Like maybe you need to look the way you do now. Maybe that's what's actually comfortable for your body. And a lot of those things that people do to stay looking a certain way aren't good for you. They aren't good for your health. They aren't good for your mind. Like, I want to have energy. I want to feel good. I want to take care of my body. I want to be nourishing it with nutrients and all the things. I want to have balance in my life. I don't want to stress. And so yeah, I think again, I want to tread this topic lightly because, again, I know that that's something that's very sensitive for a lot of people, and I don't feel like I'm fit to like really talk about it, but just sharing some of my own personal struggle and hoping that, you guys feel less alone in it, because I think it is really hard, our relationships with our bodies as women. And maybe that is something I'll talk about in an episode, but I definitely think that's been one of the harder things for me about getting older, is like seeing, oh wow, like it's easy to be mean to myself about the way I look or compare myself to how I used to look, but also I'm so much of a healthier person now and I take a lot better care of myself. And part of that is nourishing and all the things that we do to feel good and have energy, because it's like there's nothing worse than looking good but feeling like crap. And a lot of the stuff that I used to do made me feel that way. So anyways, sorry, that was a lot, but hopefully that makes sense. So I just think we need to remember that as we get older and our skin changes and our bodies change and our minds are changing, our bodies are not betraying us. They are protecting us, preparing us, changing in ways that are necessary. And I just think trusting your body and trusting your body's timing and taking care of your body, but also loving your body. Like, don't hate your body. Stop hating your body. Stop hating the way things are changing. Like, and I think we get on social media and every day we can gain a new insecurity from what we see online. Like, something for me that I've been like, oh my gosh, like as I've been getting older, I've started to be more scared of like my skin and the way my skin changes. And I've been more critical of how many fine lines I have and how many wrinkles I have. And I never used to think about that stuff. And now I've just been like, oh gosh, and it's stressed me out. And it's like, that's my body's natural, whatever. And like also my smile lines are because I smile. Like, that's good. That's a good thing. And so, yeah, I think just accepting that and wrestling with that has been hard, and just kind of feeling the seriousness of how life is moving. And yeah, I think again, like when I was 18 or even really anytime up until 26, I felt like I had so much time. And now that I'm heading into my late 20s, I feel so much more pressure to be everything that I thought I was going to be at this age, to fit in, not to fit in, but to fit into the idea of my own standard for myself, of what I thought I would look like, what I thought I would be like, where I thought I would be in my life. And I feel my youth is slipping through my fingers and passing me by. And it's so scary because there's such a negative connotation that I have built internally from, I feel like, so much conditioning through my life to believe that getting older is bad and getting older is scary and getting older means that life is so much more serious, and that I've tied so much of my value to my youth. And that's scary to admit, but it's true. And so as I'm getting older, it's weird, it's scary, it's uncomfortable. And also being the oldest one in the room is weird. Like, now I feel like when I walk into rooms, I'm surrounded by a ton of young 20-year-olds and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 26. Like, this is weird. It's weird to feel older. It's weird to feel like time is passing me by. It's weird to feel like my youth is slipping through my fingers, because every year I get older, I feel almost more humbled by life. I feel less qualified. I feel more humbled, and I feel more curious and have more questions about my life and what I believe in and what matters to me. And I feel so much pressure to figure it out and to be what I want to be and to do the things that I want to be. And for some reason in my mind, I've convinced myself that once I hit a certain age, that stops. And I don't want to see life that way, because I believe every year of life is a gift. But I just think the transition between your early adulthood years and when you actually really, I feel like, begin adulthood is so weird, is so uncomfortable, and is so scary, because I still feel like a baby. I still feel like an infant. I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I still feel confused. I still don't know what I want to be and what I want to do. I'm still in so much discovery of who I am and what I want and all of the things. And as I get closer to 30, it feels tighter and tighter and tighter and more constrictive and more stressed and more pressure. And then I have to worry about all the things that come with it and trying to stay young forever, but that's not real life. We age. Aging is a beautiful thing. It's good. And so I think I'm just really trying to not be so scared, but I'm scared. And I know some of you listening will be like, Nicole, this is so dumb. Like, you're 26, stop complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to help you guys understand how I feel, because as I've talked to a lot of friends and people in my life, they feel it too. This pressure for career, for marriage, for children, for especially as a woman. And it's scary and it's stressful. But with that being said, I want to talk about some of the upsides of aging, some of the beautiful things about aging that we need to remember as we start to break through this cycle in our minds that aging is bad. Because here's the crazy part. I feel like every time I talk to someone older in their 30s or even 40s, they're like, oh my gosh, your 30s are your best, or oh, your 40s are your best. You stop caring about what people think of you. You stop being so scared of being old. You finally figure out what you want. Like, you are so young. You have so much time. And I think that is so true. Like, and I'm saying that from a 26-year-old perspective in the way of like, I think even though our youth and being super young is fun and exciting because you have all this time, it's also like groundbreaking in the way that you're breaking through generational trauma cycles. You're learning who you are. You're learning how to love yourself and respect yourself. You're learning how to set boundaries in relationships. You're learning how to stop people pleasing and stop trying to be too nice, and you learn to like actually prioritize and value yourself and all these different things. And so it's so good. And it's like, I would never want to be how I was at 18. I would never want to go back to that place. And I've learned so much. But I think it is important to remember that like each season of life is a gift and it's special. And I think we fear the future and fear getting older because of the unknown and because of the standards we have. But like, it's actually going to be great. And I believe that. And like I said, that's why, again, for anyone listening that's like, Nicole, you're so young. Like, what are you talking about? And you're older and you're coming at it from an older perspective. Well, you're older and you're wiser than me. And I love that. And I pray that I continue to see that and that I can be someone that in 10 years can sit down and be like, guys, like, stop being scared of getting older. I'm 35 and being 35 is the best. Or I'm 50 and being 50 is the best. Like, but this is something I'm going through in this current moment. Anyways, all of that to say, let's talk about some of the upsides of aging, what you actually gain when you age. Number one, which is so true even in the first couple years of adulthood I've had, emotional regulation. As we age, we become more emotionally stable, known as the positivity effect. We focus more on peace and less on drama, which is so true. I think when we're really young, I mean, even now, I'm literally doing it right now, but I do it way less than I used to do it. But like, you just like feel more chill. Like, me and my partner were talking about this the other day. or like a couple weeks ago, like as you age and when your frontal lobe develops, it's almost like life just becomes more stable. Because like when you're young, I feel like your mood is like this, and it's like highs and lows and highs and lows and highs and lows. Then I feel like as you get older, you're just kind of like chill. Like it kind of like levels out, which can kind of make life feel less boring or more boring, but it also makes it so much more peaceful, I think. And so I think that is so true that as we age, we become more emotionally stable. Obviously the next one, wisdom and perspective. Our intelligence grows. We gain context, maturity, and better judgment. Self-acceptance, self-concept clarity improves in your late 20s. You know who you are and what matters. I think that is one of the most beautiful things about aging, is that you start to love yourself more. Because I think you get to a certain age where you're just like, why would I not love and accept myself and actually respect myself and stand up for who I am? I feel like you do get to a place where you kind of stop caring what people think of you, and you start caring so much more about, yourself, at least for me in my experience. And I am excited to continue to watch that grow, the self-acceptance for me. Happiness curve. Research shows happiness dips in your 20s, then rises steadily through adulthood. So guys, this is great, okay? So I'm ready for my happiness curve, okay? Because I've had so many people in their 30s be like, bro, your 30s are your best. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of excited for that, because I think being in your 20s is kind of a shiz show a little bit. And people have talked about that. Like your 20s are crazy, and then you get to your 30s and you feel better. Like everything levels out a little bit. You kind of know who you are. You kind of know what you want. But that is something that obviously increases as you get older. And then meaning and connection. Aging deepens empathy, purpose, and the desire to contribute. Getting older doesn't make you less. It makes you more grounded, more kind, more sure of who you are. I cannot wait to be a mother, a grandma, all the things. And I think part of getting older is caring less about what society thinks, caring less about what others think of you, caring less about all these materialistic, shallow things, and caring more about your heart, your spirit, your character, and people around you. I'm excited to get older. I'm excited for what it's gonna bring. And I think, if you feel nervous or negative about getting older and the fear of it, you're not alone. But I think we need to speak truth to ourselves. We need to remember that we were designed to age and to get older, and there's so much beauty in it. There's so much purpose in it. There's so much goodness in it. And what society tells us in this obsession with constant youth, staying young, looking young, feeling young, it's not like, it doesn't matter. Like your timeline is different than everyone else's, and your worth and your value isn't in your youth or the way that you look or even in your achievements or your accomplishments. I believe that it's in who you are, your character, how you treat people, how you love people. And so, I just hope and I pray that anyone listening to this just knows that I love them and can maybe help, or maybe can feel a little less fearful about getting older and just understand that it's normal. But I don't think that it's right. And I don't think that it's, not that it's not right, but I think we need to change our perspective on aging. And I'm really going to start trying to do that. And so this episode was a start. So just, I encourage you guys, and I'm going to be doing the same, start replacing I'm getting old with I'm growing. The way you think about aging shapes your health and mindset. Reframing helps your brain see time as opportunity, not loss. Getting older is not a loss. It's just more opportunity, more time, and more growth. Think about that. Every year you get older, you will grow. You will grow more into the person that you're meant to be. You will grow in friendship. You will grow in love. You will grow in empathy. You will grow in knowledge. And those are so valuable and so worth celebrating. So just remember, you're not running out of time. You're right on time. The more you stop fearing what's next, the more beauty you'll see in what's already here. I love you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed. I've stuttered so much. I I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. And yeah, you guys know if you'd like to support me, you can follow me on all my social media channels: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Elephants in the Room. You can rate and review this podcast. That helps me so much. That would mean the world if you give me 5 stars or even 4 stars. I just love getting rated and reviewed. It helps me. And yeah, if you want to share it with a friend, share it on your story, all that stuff helps me and supports me. So I love you guys so much. And I'll close this episode out by saying, what elephants are in your room? My name is Nicole, and I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.